Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. A very fun, quick, easy, off-the-cuff video today. I had several requests to do a demonstration of painting this palm tree, so I thought I would because I think it's kind of a fun technique. I'm going to use tritone colored pencils. Honestly, use whatever colored pencils you have, but if you do have these, it's a great way to kind of get used to them, and watercolors. And I did this in a Strathmore visual journal, which I really like. They're very inexpensive. This I think I paid about $5 at AC Moore for this 140 pound. So it's by 5.5 inches by 8 inches with 22 sheets in it. I just picked up this yesterday at Michael's, the Jane Davenport one that's a little bit bigger. I think it's like 6 by 9, and it has a smoother paper in it, but I really wanted to try it, so I thought this would be a great one to try it on, and I can put my I'll just put my little palm tree there, so hopefully you can see both while I'm working. Let me put my phone underneath that to kind of prop it up a little bit. It does seem like it's going to lay flat pretty well for me, which is good. I thought about getting the larger one, but I didn't, just because it was kind of, the spine looked like it had been crushed, so I was afraid it might give me problems down the road. And it's not a cheap journal. This retails for 18 bucks. I used a 40% off coupon on it, but still, I mean, compared to $5. There are more pages in this too. I didn't see on the package how many pages there are, but there are quite a few. I'm going to start by doing this kind of bulbous area in the center of my tree. This is about halfway down the page, and I am taking advantage of the sketchy lines that this pencil is going to afford me here. I also decided I wanted a little bit of a bend in my tree, just to make it a little more interesting. And then you've got the second kind of little area, and up here, this is kind of a space where you kind of see where they would be trimming the palm fronds off. And I actually saw a landscaper when we were out in the Bahamas sawing off some of these, and he had like this big stick with a saw on the top, and basically was cutting them off, and so just the top ones would kind of grow up and be really bushy, and then it would just be kind of a little puff ball underneath. I thought it was just kind of a neat way that they trimmed them. Very pretty trees, so different than what we get here in Maine. Our trees are beautiful too, but they're very, very different. And then just want to get this, maybe we'll straighten that out just a little bit more. And really, that's all I want for this level of the sketch. I can go back in afterwards with more markings, but I really don't feel like I need to right off the bat. My palette is a little sandy from my trip. It doesn't really bother anything. I think it might be a little harsh on my brushes having the sand in there, so I'm still using this old water brush, which actually, if you look here, it's honestly about had it. It's getting very frayed. I've had this for probably 3 years, and I've used it a ton. So I do recommend these Primo water brushes. They're quite affordable, and they certainly last really well. I like to start just by squeezing out some of the water on my palette, kind of, so that way I don't have to squeeze it over my paper, because sometimes that gives you it can give you a big blob of water or a big bead of water where you don't want it. And I'm painting this fast because this is how I painted it when I was on location. I'm getting my highlight side of the tree done first, and I'm using a yellow ochre. I have a combination of Winsor & Newton and Sennelier paints in here. This is a Winsor & Newton yellow ochre, which actually, it's very pretty when it dries. It's very, it's almost like a Naples yellow deep. It's very soft. It doesn't have a ton of granulation. It's like a sweet color. It just sweetens whatever you seem to put with it. I think I also want to throw in a little bit of lemon. This lemon is Sennelier, and I think it's just like I think it's well, you know, it might be Hansa yellow, but it's definitely a lemon. Cool based shade. Give a little bit of that into the trunk too. I'm going to go with some, I think this is English red here, Sennelier. You can use burnt sienna, but I like that little pop of red that I'm getting right there with that. I like that this paper is it's helping my paint stay wet longer, so I don't feel like it's a race against the clock, and I can kind of block in my colors and then pull them together a little bit. So I think that I think this would be a really nice one to do on location sketches with. The only thing is I wish I got the journal jacket, because that would have kept my colors cleaner. I mean, my journal cleaner, because it's got a canvas cover that I'm going to paint on, but I just know I'm going to make a mess. I should have bought, I don't even know if they had them. They were pretty cleaned out, but anyway, so that's just my observation I'm making right off the cuff right here. I'm taking a little Sennelier olive green, and I do want to specifically mention that color because it is gorgeous. It's I'm a really big fan of sap green, and I feel like this, sometimes your sap green just isn't as lively and lush as you want. This is such a lush color, and a lot of olive greens aren't very lush, but Sennelier olive green is really lush, and I discovered it in the student palette, and then I went ahead and bought a tube of the artist quality, and it wasn't that expensive, honestly. It was very reasonable, I thought. I picked that up at Jerry's. I think it was like $8, probably with a coupon or something. It wasn't much for an artist grade. Now I do need something darker. So what I think I'm going to do, I see little bits of turquoise peeking out, and in my sketchbook, I'm pretty much anything goes. I don't hold to the standards that I would hold to if I was doing a work for sale. I'm going to use Opera because it is such a lovely color that I usually don't use in finished work because I'm afraid it's going to fade. But in my sketchbook, heck, it's going to be closed. I don't have to care about that. Gosh, I really am liking this paper. So the price isn't bad considering the paper is good, I guess. I'm trying to think if I must have used something a little bit darker, and it looks like let me see if I mixed that violet. It's been a couple weeks, so I'm trying to remember exactly what I did for some of these colors. Yeah, I think I used a pre-mixed violet, probably because, again, in my sketchbook. So I'm going to grab some of that with a burnt sienna and see if I can make a nice rich dark that way. And I'm going to drip that into my shadow side. Oh, that makes a nice dark. Now, I could have grabbed ultramarine blue, but I'm not using ultramarine blue anywhere else, so why would I make my shadow with that? No, I make my shadow with colors that I'm going to use anyway. So this violet and ultramarine is working good. I believe this is a dioxazine violet. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm trying to get that fresh, bright feeling more than accuracy, really. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get my palm fronds in. And I'm again going in with my olive green. I will tell you, the Sennelier tube paint, I squeezed that out and I let it sit for a couple weeks. And I did notice that paint really wanted to go kind of soft on me with the humidity. So keep that in mind if you're painting any place really humid, that you might have some issues with that. I've also, like, I don't bring my gram paints out in palettes too much because I have that same issue. Something that I did that was really helpful for the teal, I used a slice off my Daniel Smith cobalt teal stick, and I just glued it in the pan with a smidgen of core cobalt teal liquid paint because it was the same exact pigment number. I knew it wasn't going to hurt anything, even though they use different binders. Ironically, it didn't harm a darn thing, and it was just great, and I didn't have to worry about them getting sticky. So there's a nice use for if you have watercolor sticks, either the Daniel Smith or any other brand. I have not used, I've used the American Journey and I've used the Daniel Smith, and both of those work really well for slicing off a piece and sticking in a palette. You can even do that with like a Caran d'Ache watercolor crayon, whatever you have. I think that for our travel palettes, it's nice to work with nice supplies, but you don't want to be so afraid that you are going to ruin something that you don't paint. So now I'm taking some of that cobalt teal, which I used so much of that on my trip. It was just the color of the Caribbean. And I am adding in some more little palm fronds here. Now, if you feel like your work is ever getting too mushy-gushy, what you can do is take a break and work on something else. Like something I could do now is actually grab a nice sharp pencil, and I could go in and I could sketch on some individual palm fronds here. And the nice thing about that is where this waxy pencil, if it's going into wet paint, what it's going to do is it's going to push it away, kind of like a squeegee, or kind of like if we use the bevel end of a brush. But if it's going over dry paint or just dry paper, it's going to deposit some waxy lines. It's going to leave indentations. So when we go to do watercolor, it's going to repel some colors, but then it'll also, in turn, make like a little row that our paint can seep into. So it's just kind of a fun, fabulous, expressive medium. And I think when we're using, when we're traveling especially, and we are using supplies, maybe supplies that I like to take stuff that I've neglected because I know that I'm going to use what I have. If I only have 3 things, I'm going to make art with 3 things. If I bring 20 things, I'm probably not going to make any art because I'm going to be so overwhelmed with what I have. This pencil, this is one of my favorite. I don't know if they sell these open stock. I kind of hope they do because I want the other 12 colors that I don't have. But this one is gray, orange, and red, and this is such a fun sketching pencil. I'll show you the seagulls I sketched with this in case you don't follow me on Instagram. That was done, it was sketched with this pencil, and then I just did some really quick and easy washes over it, and I just loved the type of movement and life that it gave my sketch. So just grabbing a colored pencil, like if you always draw with a gray graphite pencil, grab a colored pencil and try drawing with that and see what happens and see if you like it. Do it in a sketchbook so you're not feeling like you're wasting some big precious piece of paper. I'm sorry if I sound so like rah, you know, but that's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how when I'm sketching quickly on location, that's kind of how my brain goes. Sometimes I'm really relaxed, but most of the time I'm just kind of scrambling to get it on paper. Doesn't sound fun, does it? It really is fun, even though it probably sounds like crazy. I actually have a really good time doing that. I'm gonna use some opera on its own. Again, opera is not a color I would use on a painting I intend on hanging. But for this, it is just ideal because of the green that we're using. It gives it this awesome like glow and vibration. Our retinas are just vibrating when they see that green and the pink next to each other. It's really, really fun. And this color is a great glazing color because I can just kind of smoosh it on here and there and it just like revs up whatever I have underneath. Probably because of the rhodamine dye that's in there, which is it pulls out the fluorescence in colors, or it adds a fluorescent to it. I believe it's a blue BV10, probably blue violet 10, or maybe that just means fluorescent. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but hey, I think it's fun and I like it, and I'm trying to determine whether I used another blue in this picture or not because I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was just that violet. And looks like I have a little bit more green there, but I'm looking at the marks and I'm thinking that it's probably a pencil. You know, because I'm seeing these rich green marks, but they're very scribbly marks like this. And I only had that water brush and I just smeared my hand in there, but who the heck cares? It's a sketchbook, you know? And I like to pull out the little edges, because not everything's smooth. I like to get those edges in there. So that's what I'm going to do. Very quick, very sketchy, very fun. Now that I see that I smeared that blue, I'm going to take that as an opportunity for the ocean. Let's put the ocean in there. Let's do that. Let's grab my water brush. Let's be fair and use what I used, even though I didn't put an ocean on that one. That's all right. We're going to do it here. I'll get a little bit of water going on back there. There we go. Maybe I'll just drop in a little bit more color. There we go. Now, water brushes are really good for wet to wet technique because sometimes people will be like, Lindsay, my paint's not flowing, what's going on? And I'm always stumped because I'm like, why is that? Why are you having a hard time with that? That paint should flow just fine. And then it dawned on me, your brush is probably too dry, because if I have a water brush, it's feeding water out. So my brush is always wetter than the paper I am putting the color into. If your brush is dry and your paper is wet and you're trying to disperse some paint off your brush onto the paper, well, your brush is thirsty, it's drier, it's gonna suck that paper up off the water. If your paper is slightly drier than your brush, the brush is gonna release the water out into the paper, because water wants to balance itself out. It's either gonna suck up to the brush if your brush is drier, or it's gonna whoosh up to the water if your paper's drier. So there's a little, hopefully, a little helpful tip for you if you have some issues with your water, your paint not flowing. It's probably just a situation where your brush is too dry. If you are using synthetics, sometimes you have that issue because they're not going to hold as much. I just thought I wanted the background here. It's not going to hold as much water as like my Mimics, and I do suggest that the beginners start with a regular synthetic brush just because they're less expensive and they're less frustrating. But if you have a nice soft brush like one of these Mimics, they hold so much water that you could end up with so much water in your brush and then you go to touch it and it sucks up and it I'm sorry, you end up with a lot of water in your brush. Your paper is only going to hold so much water, so when you do touch it down, it releases the paint. Whereas a synthetic brush, like this one for instance, they've got slippery bristles. So you have you have your wet paper, it's glossy and shiny like I tell you to, and you have your paint, but water just doesn't grab onto these bristles that well. So when you touch it, you might just get a little dot, or it's actually sucking up the water onto your paintbrush instead of letting your paint flow into the wash. I hope that made sense, because I think that's the issue that people have when they're saying that they're having an issue with their paint not flowing. I think it's honestly your brush is too wet, or your paper, or maybe your paper is too wet. Your brush is too dry, your paper's too wet. I've just confused you even more. I'm sorry about that. Experiment. You'll figure out what you need to do. There you have it. I like this paper. Yay! I'm really happy that I got it. I guess this is a little Jane Davenport journal review in addition to the quick sketch there. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and I'll show you that seagull pick really quick if you wanted to see it here. Let's see. Oh, it's so fun to paint on location, because you'll really remember what you saw when you pay attention to like lights and stuff. That was sketched, and I mostly was able to get the red portion of the pencil when I was sketching that, but I just thought that was, it just gives an energy, especially when you're sketching, you're sketching with lots of sketchy little lines. It adds a vibrancy, a vibration, and energy, and I really like the look of it. So if there was any other sketches that you saw from my sketchbook, I'll flip through real quick. I did in another video. If you want to see any of them, just give me a holler. I'll try. I'll do my best. I'll probably pop them in here and there because nobody wants to see these every day. Just very, very quick and easy little paintings I did. I love the lifeguard. I actually took a photo of the lifeguard. That was kind of fun. That's where they take the crazy people that want to go out in jet skis. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Not that I wouldn't go on a jet ski, but a jet ski in a foreign country from people I don't know, that doesn't scream something I want to do. I'll go on a friend's jet ski in a pond or a lake or something, but wide ocean, sharks, no, I don't think so. I'm really not that brave, I guess. Oh, that's one I think I might do, but maybe a little bit bigger with more detail, because I think that one, I love those colors. I love how that one came out. I just because I wasn't afraid to use the opera, because I knew it was going to be in a sketchbook, and I think, you know, you take fear out of art and magical things happen. But, you know, the sketches aren't perfect. The sketches aren't great. The sketches were fun, and they remind me of my vacation, and that is why you should sketch on location, I think. And there, that's my, this is my ongoing travel book, because it's got a nice spiral bound thing. It's actually got this little protected thing on there and a hardcover. Let me show you how scratched up my palette got on vacation. We still got another couple of minutes. Oh my gosh, this is awful. My palette is got so scratched up in my bag, probably because of sand and stuff, but look at that. I mean, so look at all these scrapes on it, but I still love it. It's well used, well loved. Thank you so much for watching. That's it. That's all I have to say. I hope you had a great day, and till next time, happy crafting.